Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name's AJ and I'm your host for today. I've been away for a few days. Took the missus out for her birthday. Took her away for a few days and she absolutely loved it. So now I'm back to the swing of things, back to making videos. So I'm going to catch up with most of the top events during the week. I'm going to be talking about Cop26 and also about Taiwan and a bit about China as well. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. So we have the Cop26 happening this week in Glasgow, led by this guy, Johnny English, in the middle, or Mr. Bean, should we say. And I want to show you something. Can you notice the difference between these idiots and these idiots? The only difference I can see is the stupid uniforms you buy from Walmart. You know those silly Halloween uniforms you buy from Disney store. So these guys have obviously worn them and these guys haven't. That's the only difference. So yeah, the bloody Eternals have come to save Cop26. So what have we seen so far? So you got this guy flying halfway around the world to fall asleep. So he's come here for a nice little holiday. He can fall asleep, he doesn't have to listen to all this climate nonsense. He can just sit there, catch up on his sleep. Obviously he doesn't get much sleep in the USA. He's under a lot of pressure. So he comes here and he has a good time at the taxpayer's expense, may I say, with the 85 car motorcade. So as you can see, there's about 85 cars. And these are top of the range American vehicles, and as you know, American vehicles, they suckle a lot of gas, very much a lot of CO2 producers. They brought the whole team, security guards, makeup artists, film crew, you name it, cats and dogs, everything's in there, kitchen sink included. You know what I mean? Even look, ambulance with them as well. Bloody hell, it's absolutely ridiculous. Imagine, and Americans don't pay for this, guys. We're paying for it, the taxpayers' money. And it's costed over $1 billion to have, just for this guy, over $1 billion, just for the security for this guy. Absolutely ridiculous. Look, I don't know why they're spending so much money on this guy. This guy looks like he's on his last legs. He could pop down dead any minute. I mean, seriously, I don't think it's going to last a year, let alone 6 months. And this old guy, he's being flown all the way around the world. And you got to give him some credit. He's an old guy. He's called Sleepy Joe. Don't call him Sleepy Joe for no reason. He's probably suffering from jet lag and what have you not. Plus all of this climate crap. You know he's bored out of it. He doesn't really care. He only cares about his domestic stuff. He's not here for anything. The only time he came on stage was to piss on China and Russia, saying they're not here, blah blah blah. Absolutely ridiculous. So this guy's got a few excuses. He's old, he's got jet lag. So what do you think this fatso's got excuse for? This little fatso, he's asleep, right? And look at this guy. Not only is he asleep, he's got no mask on, so he's like snoring away. These guys have got masks. And this guy's an absolute joke, and people are just taking the piss out of Boris. People are taking the piss out of Biden as well. But you gotta give Boris a lot of the blame as well, because he's much younger than Biden. He knows better. He's not only that, he's also the main guy who's in charge of this Cop26. So he should be leading by example, not bloody sleeping on the job like this. And this is what the world thinks about him, guys. I mean, they call him Johnny English. Boris is more Johnny English than James Bond, as hypocrisy turns Cop26 moment into farce. And it is hypocrisy, guys. He's like flying around with his private jet everywhere. He's bought a lot of these electrical charging points for electric cars. They're not even being used. And these electric charging points are generated power using diesel engines. It's absolutely hypocrisy. Plus, during the budget, what he does is cuts down the tax for local flights. What he needs to do is cuts down taxes for green stuff and cut down taxes for things like trains and subsidized trains, not bloody encourage more people to fly and causing more CO2. This guy doesn't have a clue what's going on around the world, and people are just laughing at him. I mean, look at this article. He's like a clown. What other countries thought of Boris Johnson at Cop26? You know, this guy is a laughing stock of the world. Him, Biden, Morrison, the three amigos, the three musketeers. Well, I wouldn't call them musketeers because musketeers were heroes. The three amigos or the three stooges is more like their name. And I gotta tell you guys, COP26 is a massive failure. You know, people are just talking crap. People are giving fake promises. None of these countries are going to be held accountable, right? It's like, please, sir, can you reduce your carbon, sir? Yes, I'll do it in 2070. Yeah, whatever you say. Yeah, we'll do it. You know that you're not going to do it. You're just leaving this shit into someone else's hands. And this is exactly what Biden is doing, because everybody knows, right? Everybody knows Biden's going to lose the next election. Trump is going to come back. And what do you think Trump is going to do in his first day in office? He's going to get out of the Paris Climate Accord. He's going to get out of this. He thinks all of this climate shit is bullshit. He's going to get out of it. And all of the work that America's been doing until 9 months ago, till end of Biden's term, for example, it's just going to be a waste. Nothing's going to come out of it. And then Trump's going to come back and he's going to pull out of the climate accords and any other accords that's been signed. So, none of us have any hope of this ever becoming a reality. So you can pretty much kiss all of this goodbye. It's just been a waste of money, waste of resources, and plus all of the CO2 that's been produced in the COP26. Absolute hypocrisy, guys. And this is why there's a lot of people marching all over Glasgow and London, because they know it's all bullshit. It's all like lip service, as they say. So I'm going to tell you something really important, guys. I'm going to come to the main source of this article. The main source of the article is this: the US military is a bigger polluter than 140 countries. So all of this like climate stuff is only measured per country, but they don't measure the military, right? If they actually measure the military, US would be the biggest polluter in the world, more than China. And as you can see here, US military is one of the largest polluters in history, considering more liquid fuels and emitting more climate changing gases than most medium-sized countries. If the US military was a country, its fuel usage alone would make it the 47th largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, sitting between Peru and Portugal. So you can see how much of a hypocrisy this is, and here, in fact, United States insisted on an exception for reporting military emissions in the 1997 Kyoto Protocol. This loophole was closed by the Paris Accord, and because this loophole was closed by the Paris Accord, Trump administration pulled out, and this is the reason why Trump pulled out, because they wanted to add the US military in the Paris Accord, and this is one of the reasons, Trump pulled out and stuff. But the US military is causing much of the pollution around the world, guys. More than 140 countries, 140 developing countries. I just think it's really, really unfair to put all of the pressure on these developing countries when you got this military complex which is ruining the world. So they've got hundreds and hundreds of bases around the world. They've got some of the biggest ships, in terms of tonnage. They've got the most aircraft, and the amount of CO2 these guys are producing. If the US military started, being more peaceful around the world instead of starting wars and things like that, this would reduce carbon so much. Per person, America is still the largest polluter per person. I mean, China has got 1.4 billion people, but per person, they are not the largest polluter. It's USA, and if you include the military as well, that's even more. So a lot of this stuff is not reported by the mainstream media because they know the truth, but they don't want to report the truth. They want to paint out China as the main villain. They want to paint Russia as the villain. They want to paint India as the villain, and they don't look at America, and they don't look at the historical CO2 production, because historically Britain was a major polluter back in the industrial age, and then it was USA, and nobody looks at the historical part of producing. And I think it's really unfair that all of these developing countries who are now building coal mines and stuff and building up their um, industrial factories and stuff, I think it's really unfair to get them to stop right now. Well, while before they didn't do any of this stuff, it was mainly the USA and Britain and Europe that's been doing it. So I think it's really unfair for them to put so much emphasis on the developing countries. And these countries, right, these Europeans, Americans, they pledged 100 billion a year to help these developing countries to move away from coal and move to renewable energies. But that 100 billion is not even agreed yet. They haven't even got that amount, and they were supposed to give that amount 5-6 years ago, and they still haven't got that amount yet. But if you think about it, imagine the trillions that USA has spent because of the coronavirus and financial problem in 2008 and all of these trillions that the world has wasted on the finance to pull them out of trouble and things like that. But they can't get rid of 100 billion, and I think it's really unfair, guys. It's absolutely unfair, and this is why these bigger countries are just hypocrites. And you got Biden coming on stage blaming China and Russia. How dare he? Seriously, he's got a big gob. How dare he? When Trump just 9 months ago pulled out of the Paris Accord, and America, in terms of historical usage and the military, is still the biggest polluter and per person. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it doesn't matter you turning up to Cop26. Just because you turn up doesn't mean you are the world's savior. It's actions rather than words. China has shown with its actions that it has it is reducing CO2, it is reducing coal mines, is going more on renewables. It's got so much solar power, so much wind power, that's increasing every year. Nuclear power is increasing every year. And they're also reducing deforestation. They're turning their deserts into forests, and they're reducing their desert area year by year. They're planting so many trees. So, countries such as China are way in front of most other countries around the world. And I think Europeans, Americans can learn from China instead of trying to kick them every single time. So let's get into the next part. So you got all of these other countries who are like promising stuff. You got Brazil, who said it's gonna cut deforestation, but don't forget 2014, and they agreed for deforestation so many times, guys, and it's not getting anywhere. And Amazon rainforest is getting less and less every year, and you got people such as Bolsonaro, who's just like the worst president Brazil has ever had. This guy is an absolute criminal, and people know it's just lip service and nothing's going to be happening. Everyone knows that. So you got Turkey, who didn't even turn up because UK didn't provide him the security that he needs. You got Russia didn't turn up, Japan didn't turn up, and you see Japan won't sign any Cop26 statements ending the use of coal-fired plants, because Japan doesn't use nuclear, don't forget. And they don't have the space for solar and things like that. Japan is a very small country, and most of its land is mountains and stuff like that. So it's very hard for them to get away from coal and things like that. Then you got Australia as well. Australia is like the biggest hypocrite as well. Per person, they are the biggest polluter as well. And again, Morrison is just making up lip service, making up lies, and say, yeah, we'll do it. No one's going to do it unless you actually give a country fines like the way Europeans are doing to Poland. If there's some sort of fine system where you got to stick to your emission goals and emission targets, and if you don't stick to it, the country gets fined. I think that's probably the best way forward. I mean, this COP26 is just countries just doing favors, really. There's no, and if you don't do it, there's no punishment, really. So it's all lip service. It's all a bunch of crap, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. So I want to get into this story as well, where President Xi wrote a statement, basically, and this statement was not read in COP26, nor was he allowed to give a statement on a video, because apparently they wanted everyone to come face to face, and there was no video calling service or something like that. That's what they said to President Xi anyway. So President Xi wrote a letter instead, and this letter was not read at COP26. And then you got Biden coming on stage and blaming President Xi, blaming Putin for not coming to COP26, trying to make them look like the bad guys. And I think it's a cheap shot, guys, absolutely cheap shot. But I love this tweet by Ambassador Zhang Jun. He says, in addressing climate change, what we need is firm commitment and continued actions, which is right. What we don't need is empty slogans, ever-changing policies, luxury motorcades and entourage. Oh, that's a good one. Irresponsibly exposing numerous people to infection. Exactly. So all of these people coming in, right? Hardly anyone's wearing masks. They're hugging each other, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I want to show you this video here. Check this video out, guys. You got Narendra Modi, right? He's hugging his, Boris Johnson, and he's hugging this guy. And watch this guy's face. He's like, whoa, whoa. You see, Narendra Modi is having a huge infection crisis in India. Boris is having a huge infection crisis in UK, and these guys are not wearing masks. They're hugging each other, and none of these guys have gone through any lockdowns or anything like that. For the rest of us, we gotta have a 14-day lockdown or 21-day lockdown. But these rules don't apply to leaders. Obviously, they can do whatever the f they want. And you can see this guy's face. It's like when Modi is trying to hug him. It's almost like he's trying to kiss him in his first date or something. When you're trying to kiss a girl in the first date. That's Modi on his first date. Oh, it's ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, talking about India is absolutely been mocked for laughable pledge to reach net zero in 50 years, 10 years after China, and 20 years after the rest of the world. I mean, I don't understand India, guys. I mean, they want to be the next manufacturing hub, replacing China, but they don't want to cause any pollution or anything like that. If you want to be the next manufacturing hub, you need a lot of energy, guys. And India doesn't have a net zero goal or an energy goal for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's hardly got any nuclear power units. It doesn't have enough land for solar or wind, because India is a fairly small country compared to its population. It's got 1.3 billion people, and there's just not enough land for people. I mean, whenever they want to create any railways or roads or infrastructure, there seems to be protests around. There's always somebody who's going to be displaced, and people start protesting, and to get anything done in India is absolutely impossible. So it's quite laughable that they pledged to go zero in 50 years, 10 years after China. And but at the end of the day, it's just a pledge. It's not really a promise, is it? I mean, let's see what India can do first of all. And I just don't think India has much options, to be honest. And I think there will become a time when India will be the biggest polluter in the world per person, and because they are very, very desperate to replace China in terms of manufacturing, very desperate. And that means a lot more coal-fired factories and a lot more energy use, and they're not gonna go into solar power or renewables. Do you know why? because you got all of these articles asking. You got all of these articles. India has given the world a distant net zero target, and now is asking for cash. It doesn't have any money, guys. It's asking the world for money to go into renewables. So how the hell do you want India to become, a manufacturing hub when it doesn't even have money to go away from coal? And Boris is currently helping him secure India a 1 billion loan to fight climate change. 1 billion. What do you think 1 billion is going to do for climate change in India? They need trillions, guys. Trillions, not 1 billion. It's absolutely ridiculous. 1 billion is like small change. One solar farm or something like that. It's absolutely horrendous, guys. And I just don't think India has the power, the will, or the money to go from coal into renewables. And they got bigger problems. They got a lot of people to get out of poverty and things like that. They got major issues in India which they got to sort out first before they go into all of these renewable stuff. And people just don't get it. They just don't get it. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, guys. It's all a bunch of hypocrisy. Everything's everything's going tits up, as the British would say. And I feel sorry for people like David Attenborough, who's been a great ambassador for climate change and helping animals and wildlife and things like that. So I've been watching him since I was a kid and listening to him. So I feel sorry for people like that. He did make a great speech. And I feel sad for the world, guys, for the future, for the next generation of kids growing up. The kind of world we're giving them, it's not good. I mean, we're living in a very selfish world, and where everyone's looking after themselves, their own interests, looking after, thinking about themselves, not thinking about the future, not thinking about their kids. And I think it's a really, really sad world to live in. We created this mess, and we need to, get ourselves out of it. But you got people around the world, people like the Americans, the Europeans, and British, who refuse to acknowledge that they're the main causes of all of this climate change for all of these years. There's been dozens and dozens of climate deniers over the years. People have been talking climate change for 10, 20 years, and the leaders during that time, I remember the leaders, they were climate deniers. They're like, oh, there's no evidence, this is causing climate change, there's no evidence. I've been hearing that all throughout the years, but now people are starting to stand up, because you see what climate change is doing around the world with the ice caps melting, with heat and drought during the summer, and floods during autumn, winter. It's causing a lot of issue, and people can see it with their own eyes. But it's because of all of these climate deniers and people like in America and people like Trump. It's causing the world to deteriorate, really, and we need to do something about it. And just having these Cop26 meetings is not going to cut it, guys. Countries need to be held accountable. So you got to say to your country, look, UK, we need a plan from you how you're going to reduce your CO2 by this date, we want a 6-monthly update, and if you don't achieve this in 6 months, you will get fined. If you don't achieve this in 1 year like you promised, you will get fined. People need to be accountable for their actions. People need to be accountable. They need to have a plan of action. The same with every single country. Same with America, Australia, India. And there needs to be, a monthly plan, 6-monthly plan, yearly plan. Not bloody 50 years down the line. Yeah, we promised to reduce it, go net zero in 50 years. What the hell is that? It needs to be a plan month by month. And if you don't achieve it, if you don't live up to your promises, it doesn't matter what administration, what party, what elections, whatever party comes on board, they need to stick by this pledge, this promise, and that's the only way we can save this planet. And none of this is happening. People are just more interested in the economy, making money, and all of that. As long as there's people like that in this world, this is never going to change. And I think we're going to hit the 2 degrees increase very soon. And once we do, and you start seeing the ice caps melting all over the world, and the sea levels rising all over the world, cities disappearing all over the world, that's when people are probably gonna start making major changes. But until then, I don't think much is gonna happen. So anyway guys, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.